Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I thought I would talk to you about some of the products that I feel like I've either reviewed or mentioned in a previous video, like a haul or something, and then I've never really talked about them on my channel again, or minimally have they been mentioned or seen again since that initial time that I mentioned them. So I thought I'd kind of do like a second impressions or a check back on update on all of the products that I have reviewed and then really haven't mentioned or really haven't updated you guys on whether I'm still using them, if I still like them, anything new I've learned about them, and all of the above. So first up is the Morphe 39A palette. So I think I mentioned this in one of my hauls, or I don't know when I mentioned it, and I did use it a few times, I think in like tutorials and things. This is what it looks like on the inside. And really, since I kind of first got this, like I used this quite a lot for the first few weeks that I got it. I think it's a gorgeous palette, and if you are a makeup artist or if you are, really adventurous with your makeup, I think this is amazing value. Is it? I'm not even sure if you can still get it, because I think it was limited edition. If you're a makeup artist or if you are really adventurous with your makeup and you're going to use things like these blues and the greens on a regular basis, then absolutely it's probably going to be a fantastic purchase for you. What I found after using this for a few weeks is that there are big gaps of things missing in here. So you have these transition shades. I can really only use these two and maybe this one as like a first shade, and then there's a big gap of like the sort of second shades. I want some more pinks and purples, because those are generally like, I like cool tones, I like pinks, I like purples, I like neutrals, and there's very few of those that will go in between these and before you get to like these really deep shades like this. Like I love this shade, and I love this like rustic sort of orangey shade. I love lots of the shimmers. There are no light shimmers, so they're only quite deep shimmers to use on the lid. I would like some much lighter shimmers. I'd like a brow bone shade. I'd like some much lighter mattes that aren't just these two, first transition shades. I want lighter matte lilacs, purples, pinks, and therefore I can never really use this to do an entire eye look unless it's like a night out or a really dramatic look, because it is missing like that second shade and those lighter, daytime, everyday shades. So I find myself reaching for other palettes a lot more. It is also huge. So just from a practical, lazy position, am I going to reach for this when I'm in a rush? Or am I going to reach for something a quarter of the size that's just handier to hold and has a mirror? And I just don't find I ever reach for this for that reason. I'm never going to travel with it because of the sheer size of it. So for that reason, I just hardly ever reach for this anymore. So next up, the Huda 3D highlighter palette. And I have the shade Golden Sands. So this is what it looks like. Basically, she has all different shades of these palettes, and you get one cream highlight, which is this one, and then 3 powders. Now, because of my lighter skin tone, I use Tahiti as like a glowy bronzer, and I use Zanzibar as a blush, and Seychelles as a highlight. I never ever touch Fiji, ever. If I was to really want to reach for this and use this, then I might use that like on my body, like on my collarbone or something, or on my shoulders, but I never put this on the face. It's really sticky and quite thick, and I just really don't enjoy cream highlighters, to be honest, so I only ever use these 3. And again, I just don't reach for this. When I do use this, it's when I'm traveling or if I go on holiday, then I really like this, because it kind of gives me the option to use this as a highlight once I get a bit more tanned. I've got a blush and I've got a bronzer, just having that highlight shade, and so I do actually really like this to travel with, especially when I'm going on holiday. But on a day-to-day, there's no mirror. It's bigger and bulkier than, a regular highlight, so I just don't, again, feel like I reach for this that often. It's definitely, these palettes are really nice to have, but yeah, I feel like they're not as sort of practical or as easy to use as just a single pan highlight. I would, really like to see it have a mirror added, maybe take out the cream and then really go for like a highlight, a couple of highlights, a bronzer and a blush, and then I would be down. I would be all in. Next up, the Chanel Soleil Tender Chanel. So I did a whole review on this. And as you can see, there is now quite a hefty dent in here. I use this all the time. I feel like I don't use it that often on my channel, I guess because it's so expensive, and also because it only comes in this one shade, which is a really light shade. It's really not usable for lots of skin tones, so therefore I don't really choose to use it that often. You can see it only just bronzes me. I build it up a lot, like when I use this, I use quite a heavy amount. I'm around an NC 25. I can't really use this in the summer because it's too light even for me when I go into like my NC 30, 35 summer skin tone. So for that reason, I don't use it hugely often on my channel, just because I do feel like a lot of people can't use it, and it is very expensive. So therefore it's not, you know, going to be affordable for everybody. But personally, for me, I love it. It smells gorgeous. I feel like it's going to last me forever. It's very luxurious, very beautiful on the skin. No makeup days, and light makeup, natural makeup, it is everything, and it lasts really, really well. If you want to check out my review on this, I'll link it down below, because it really does wear very well for a cream bronzer. Next up, I have a ton of foundations, because I do review a lot of foundations on my channel. I love foundations, I'm obsessed with foundations. I want to try every foundation there has ever been on this earth. So I have lots of foundations, and I tend to only use like my absolute favorites over and over again. So you don't often get much of an update from me if I've just thought something was okay. So first up, sticks. So I reviewed both the L'Oreal Infallible Shaping Sticks and also the Makeup Revolution Shaping Sticks quite recently on my channel, and I will say that as far as the L'Oreal sticks, I really have not used them since that first review, and a couple more times I just tested them for updates and for just a bit more information on my channel. I really have not touched them ever since. The so the shade that I used to contour with when testing this is much warmer than I personally like for a contour, so therefore I don't really use that one. I do like the blush shade which I picked up in the L'Oreal sticks, and that is the shade Rosy Nude, which I will just show you here. It blends beautifully. It's really, really pretty, gorgeous on the skin, lots of luminosity to it. That is the only one really that I still use out of the L'Oreal sticks, and I didn't really get on very well with the highlight stick, so I've never really used that one. I did really like the Makeup Revolution sticks. I think they are very good. I think they're a really good quality drugstore foundation, but I just think that stick foundations are just obviously not my thing. I just don't find myself reaching for sticks that often. Again, the exception is the F14 stick in the Makeup Revolution. I use this all the time to contour. I think it is the perfect contour shade, nice and cool, but not grey and not too sort of muddy looking, blends like a dream and has a nice luminous finish. So that is the exception in the sticks. I still use the F14 Makeup Revolution contour shade quite regularly, and I still really like the Rosy Nude L'Oreal stick, but as far as the actual base sticks, like the foundation sticks, I really do not reach for them, like ever. No real reason, haven't gone off them. I'm just not really a stick foundation kind of person. Next up, the YSL Touche Éclat All-in-One Glow Foundation. I have literally used this maybe once or twice since my review, and the only reason is it is not my shade. I actually really liked this. I think this is great for no makeup days, and just days when all you want to do is just put a bit of tinted moisturizer and maybe some mascara on. This is perfect. It's gorgeous. I really love the finish, but when it's like quite light for me, like 1 or 2 shades too light for my skin, it washes me out. I have been a couple of times, I have mixed it with other foundations that are slightly too dark and maybe a bit matte to give it some luminosity, but I don't really feel like it does much in that, using it in that way either. So I'm really not reaching for this or using it, but the only reason is just because the shade is so off. Next up, the Makeup Revolution Pro. I shouldn't say that, I should just say the Revolution Pro no makeup Full Cover Camouflage Foundation. Now I did a really successful review of this one. If you watched that review, you will know that I was crazy dewy / greasy by the end of the day. I have used it since setting with powder, which completely eliminated all the greasy problems that I had the first time in that review. But yeah, I haven't used it since. And I think the reason is just there's nothing wrong with it. It's amazing quality and value for the price. I think, is it £5 or something, or £6, something like that? Under a tenner, it's under a tenner, put it that way. But it is, yeah, very good value, very good quality, drugstore affordable, very cheap foundation, really nice dewy finish. I think for me, I don't really enjoy the packaging, is really like just cheap and not very luxurious, and therefore it's maybe my inner snob coming out that I just want to pick up something a bit more luxurious and in a glass bottle and treat myself in the mornings, you know? It's the little things, the little things. I think I just have foundations that are really special as far as the finish and the coverage that it gives me is just my dream, perfect, everything I look for, and this just isn't quite there. So there's nothing wrong with it. It's great for an affordable foundation. It is fantastic, but I just have foundations that edge it out all of the time, like my Lancome Teint Idole, I prefer that to this one. I prefer my Huda foundation to this one. I prefer my Marc Jacobs to this one. So I guess when I've always got other foundations I just prefer, it's just not getting reached for those reasons. But to travel with it because of the squeezy tube, definitely. I'm definitely going to get some use out of it, I feel. But yeah, I'm not reaching for it over my kind of staples at the moment. Last but not least for foundations, the Fenty foundation. When I first bought this, I think I used it quite a lot in my tutorials, and I think it might have appeared in a favourites or two and things like that, but I don't feel like, since I've had all these crazy foundation releases on top of each other recently, I haven't mentioned it for ages. It's kind of got forgotten about, hasn't it? But I am very much still using this, still loving this. I'm currently using the shade 210, which is my lightest shade. I have this in 2 shades, which says everything. I like to either use like a luminizing primer, or you mix this in with something with some luminosity, like my Iconic drops or something like that, just to take the edge off the matte finish, because I do prefer a more luminous finish. But I have no complaints about this foundation. I love it. I use it at least twice a week, if not more. One of my top favorite ever foundations. Really have nothing bad to say about it. Definitely still using it and still loving it. So speaking of the Iconic Illuminator drops, here they are. And also, in the same breath, we may as well talk about the Marc Jacobs Do You Dew Drops. So both things that I previously have really enjoyed and reviewed and really thought a lot of. As far as the Iconics, I hardly ever reach for them, ever. If I go on a night out, then I will definitely use these as my chosen highlighter, because they are beaming from the rooftops. But on a day-to-day basis, I don't reach for them because they're just a bit trickier, take a bit more time than a powder highlight, which you just whack on without much thought. These can take a little bit more work, a little bit more tricky. You have to be a little bit more careful. So for that reason, every day that I don't use them, special events, nights out, 100% these go on my cheekbones every time. As far as the Marc Jacobs drops, I never touch these, ever. The only time these come out is when I go on holiday, and then I depot them into a little jar like this, and then I find it really useful because you can travel with it. There's no way my Amrezy or my Champagne Pop highlighters are leaving the house, because if they were to get smashed, someone is getting sued. But if I can just pump a load of this out into a little top pot to go on holiday with, and I can use it mixed in with my foundation, I can pop it on top of my cheekbones, then I take this. If you depot it, it's very easy to pump a load out and it will last you a week. It's the only really travel friendly highlighter in that instance, because as much as the Iconic can't, like the powder, they're not a powder, so it can't smash the compact. This is glass, so this can smash. So again, I'm not leaving my house. Whereas this, you can pump it out and it is truly travel friendly, and like a little goes a very long way. So that is the only time I use this. I don't use this in my day-to-day makeup ever at all. I feel like it also is very glittery if you use it on the body, and I get it all over my hands, and I feel like there's loads of fallout, goes all over my clothes, so I don't really like it that much on my body either anymore. A few concealers. First up is the MAC Waterweight Concealer. You know, I reviewed this and I did not like this under my eyes at all. Lots of people really were mad at me for not liking it under my eyes and were like, you're doing something wrong and you should do it like this and blah blah. I tried it in all different ways. Believe me, I wanted to love this. It's a very lightweight, very sort of dewy finish concealer, but it is not for mature skins, in my opinion. If you use it and you've had more success than me, then congratulations. I'm really happy that it works for you. It doesn't work for me. In my under eyes, nothing has ever creased as badly as this. My under eye area, it looks terrible and really aging on me in my under eye area. However, I have really been enjoying it to like carve out my brow, and I'm determined to use this up because, you know, it's not cheap, and I also want to use it for a back to MAC item. So I am going to use it until it is all gone. I will say that given I never actually use this as concealer, I occasionally use this to carve out my brows, it is almost half gone. I do think, although a little goes a long way with this, it's hard to control. You have to, like, because it's a dropper, you have to use at least one drop every time because that's the minimum that you can get out, and quite often more than one drop comes out. So I feel like you do get a lot of waste with this. Next up, the Laura Mercier Flawless Fusion Ultra Longwear Concealer. So I have been trying this. I've had loads of new concealers recently that I've picked up, so it's hard for me to try them lots because I'm trying 4 or 5 at the same time. Like I had the new Makeup Revolution Pro Concealer. I've still got my regular Revolution Conceal and Define that I enjoy. I've got Tarte Shape Tape. I've been trying IT Cosmetics. It's hard for me to try concealers like, you know, a lot when I have so many to try. But this one, I have tried it multiple times since the review. And yes, it does crease on me. It definitely creases more than my favorite Makeup Revolution concealer. Definitely creases more than the Tarte Shape Tape concealer. However, if you bake or if you set with a lot of powder, it doesn't crease to the extent where I don't want to wear it. So I have still been wearing this because I love the coverage, I love the finish, and I love the shade of it. But I don't love the creasing, and what it means is I have to use a lot of powder under my eye area, which if you are over 30 you will know is not something you really want to do. Really don't advise baking over 30 because it can really age you and just like dry out the under eye area and make it look much heavier lined than you really are. So I'm not a fan of using a huge amount of powder under there. But this is kind of the trade-off for like the shade and the beautiful finish. I don't mind doing it, and I am just playing around with it and using less, using more, using it more focused, you know, baking or not baking different powders to try and make it work for me. But it is hard work and I'm not sure it's worth it, but I'm still using it, still playing around with it, kind of pros and cons with this one. IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Under Eye Concealer, I feel very similarly as I do with the Laura Mercier. This has like the best coverage of any concealer ever. Got this on my under eyes today. I love, love, love this for carving out my brow because it's a really nice shade. I have the shade medium. It's a really nice bright shade for that. It's also very thick, so you can get a really nice precise line. I love this everywhere other than my under eye area. Very similar to the Laura Mercier, it creases a lot unless you set with a lot of powder. I use a tiny amount just in the corners. I've tried using my hands, I've tried sponge, I've tried less, I've tried more, I've tried focusing it, I've tried baking, I've tried everything with it, and I'm still sort of testing it out. Like I said, I've got it on today. But yeah, I think it looks fine now, but what I find by the end of the day, this has creased to the point where I don't want to wear it again. For that reason, I don't really recommend it if you are, again, if you're over 30. This is the Rimmel Wonder Wing liner. So this is like a winged liner stamp. So you can see it's got like this winged shape applicator, and you're basically supposed to be able to just stamp and make a little wing, which you can see it is very good. I've had this for months and it hasn't dried out at all. You can see my review of this. I will link it down below. I find that the edge is really nice for doing like the line, the rest of the line, not just the wing. I really enjoyed using this, but I just don't ever reach for it. I think the reason being that I do have a hooded eye, and so I have to be quite precise with my winged liner. I can't just do it a massive, thick, you know, high like angled winged liner, which I feel like this kind of, you only can make that one sized wing, whereas I tend to do a lot of baby wings because of my hoods, and so I have to draw my angle a bit like lower down in order to make it work, and I make the line really small, and I do a really small baby wing. So this doesn't work for that, so I pretty much always reach for my Kat Von D liner over this. So while I still recommend this if you are a beginner and you cannot do winged liner, 100% recommend this, but I'm actually okay at doing it now. And because the Kat Von D liner gives me the control of making a thicker or thinner, longer or shorter wing, I tend to reach for that one over this one. But I still would recommend this one if you really struggle with a wing. It's really helpful for beginners. Next up, the Hourglass Vanish Highlighting Stick. Now, I hardly ever use this on my face just because, again, it's a cream highlight. They are just trickier to use than powders because, you know, they can move product around underneath them. You kind of have to use this, you know, before your powders, ideally. This is so smooth and goes on with no pressure. Like literally I'm touching my hand and hardly applying any weight, yet it's still giving us that insanely beautiful, dewy, gorgeous glow. So you can get away with putting this over powder because you can be so light-handed with it, and it is very natural and gorgeous. I use this all the time, and what I think this is stunning for is on like your shoulders and on your collarbone. Like literally it is no glitter, just dew, and it catches the light gorgeously, and the shape is like perfect. I just literally made such a hash of that. Shape is like perfect for collarbones because you can get just right on the, what would you call that? Bone? Get right on there. You know, right onto the shoulder, and again, it's not glittery, it's dewy, glowy, beautiful, your skin, but like you're an angel. It's beautiful. I really like the packaging. Again, something that is really safe to travel with, that's not going to shatter. Still absolutely loving this, but especially for the body or for under foundation. Beautiful glow under foundation. Next up, the Charlotte Tilbury Contour Wand. I feel like I used this a lot around the time that I first got it with my review, and it definitely was appearing in like favorites videos. But since then, again, there's been lots of new contour products, so I haven't really talked about it. I use this all of the time, and the one thing I wasn't sure about when I reviewed this was how long it was going to last, and it is still going. I've had this for months. I use it all the time, and I know I use more than I need to when I use this, so I am quite heavy-handed with it. It's nearly half the amount you get in a foundation, so there is a huge amount of product in here. I think it's really good value for money. I still use it all of the time, and I still very much enjoy using it. 100% love it. Last but not least, the Marc Jacobs setting spray. This is the Perfecting Coconut Setting Mist. Now, you can see this is about down to here, so it's probably coming up to halfway that I've used it, but I have had this for a very long time, so clearly I am not using this every day. I only use this when I really need my makeup to last. On an everyday basis, I just tend to Fix Plus, and I don't use this. I really love the finish this gives you. It's very luminous and beautiful, and I really do feel like it does add length to how your makeup wears. I really feel like it does do that, which a lot of setting sprays don't. It smells beautiful of coconut. Obviously, everyone's issue with this was that you get hit in the face by massive droplets that ruin your makeup, as what happened to Jaclyn Hill. If you didn't see her when she first used this, it left dots all over her face, like white dots, which I totally see how that happens. However, I have used this a lot and do have found the way to make it work. One, you have to shake the bejesus out of it. Shake it, shake it. Then I do a spray over there, which fully understand. You shouldn't have to do a spray that gets wasted when you're talking about an expensive product, but that is what I do. And then I mist, and literally my face doesn't even feel wet. It's the finest mist ever. Doesn't even feel like you've misted. You know, you Fix Plus and you might feel like you've had a shower. With this, it feels like nothing. It's got the finest mist, but that first spray is quite often where you get a couple of heavy droplets that land and that can leave a mark. That's how I use this. I love it. I only use it when I really need my makeup to last a long time, which is not that often because I have no life. I don't really go anywhere. If I go somewhere, it's not for very long. I'm only going to work, so I'm not really going to the extent of using a setting spray every day when I'm going to work. So I only use this like for events or for nights out when I just want a bit of extra help with it lasting. And then, like I said, I throw away a spray over there on someone else's face and then I use it. I'm still very much enjoying it, but are there setting sprays that you won't need to go to that steps to use? Yes. And that is it. That is everything I needed to give you my second impressions, my updated thoughts on my checkbacks, whatever you want to call it. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe before you go so we can see each other again. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye 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 bye. What is that? What is that? Got scratches, but it's not. It's just filth. Car was gonna come the second I started talking. I knew it was gonna happen. But